Hey, good. Is it morning or still morning or is it afternoon? Oh, afternoon. Good afternoon. Today is April the 21st. I think it's the 21st. Yeah, yesterday was 20. Today's Monday, April the 21st, 2025. This is day 8. This is day 8 of Counting the Omer. It's a 49-day count that takes us from the Feast of First Fruits, actually, that is grounded inside of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a part of Passover. It takes us from Passover all the way to Pentecost. And this week is this entire week we'll be dealing with a new or I will be dealing with and sharing from a new character, I guess. Do I want to call it character? Um, uh, I don't know what to call it. Attribute, a new attribute. It will be the attribute of Gevura, which represents discipline, justice, restraint. Normally call it discipline. So this entire week is going to be about discipline. Last week it was about loving kindness. It was the Shased, loving kindness. So all this week is Gevura, and I want to share this with you. I highlighted a couple of things. This 49 days is real intense. It's very intense because it is character refinement. And so the characteristics that we'll be working on is, again, loving kindness, which is Shased, discipline, which is Gevura, compassion or harmony, which is Tiferet, endurance, which is Netzach, humility, which is Had, bonding, which is Yesod, and then you have nobility or servant leadership, which is Malchut. Now, one of the things I can say is today has been weird, a little weird and amazing at the same time, because what I'm finding, I decided today, because I'm continuing with my study in covenant, and like one of the things I shared yesterday was Genesis 15:1. And there was something that I had seen yesterday that caused me to go look up. Like, is name changing a part of covenant? And a lot of times when I think of name changing, I think of marriage. Because, you know, in marriage, a woman would take on her husband's last name. And so I was looking at that covenantal name changes. And I wanted to share, like earlier when I was thinking about doing this video and then I got caught up doing some other stuff. I wanted to share that today we do stuff and we don't understand the significance behind it, right? We don't understand. So you have a lot of people today that is entering into marriage, getting married, you know, and then they're just getting divorced, getting married, getting divorced, getting married for a couple of months. I don't like you, you know, I don't like this going on, da da da, and they're getting divorced. And so we don't, we, this generation, we don't know covenant like we should. We know to talk about covenant, but we don't understand covenant like we should. We should. Covenants are found in marriage. It's even found in employment. So you have people that would get a job, you know, they'll sign up and get hired at a job, and then they don't like this job and they'll quit and they'll go find another job. It's the same thing. We don't understand covenant. And that once I began to realize that, I decided to really dig into covenant and really make sure I'm understanding um, what it is. And so the more that I'm studying, and then like the other things that I do prepare for, like with the feasts that come along, and this with the counting of the Omer, it's bringing me back and like really imparting more into me about covenant. So I'm looking up. I showed this in a video that I shared yesterday about understanding covenant, Genesis 15, and I ended up finding this and printing it out. And so when I showed it yesterday, there were no highlights in it because I had not yet read it, but I knew that this was something I wanted to look into. And so that's one of the things that I did today. And what stood out to me, because I didn't even finish it, like I just got to the first 2 pages. You know, I haven't even began looking at the different ones who had experienced the covenant name changes, like Abraham, Sarah, Jacob, Peter. Like I haven't looked into those yet. I'm getting there. But what stood out to me today as I was looking at the 5 distinctions about naming covenants, 5 distinctions. One of the things it said was, number 1, identity and authority. It brought out basically a name, what a name is, and a name represents the essence of being. It encapsulates destiny, purpose, or character. It says a covenant made in a name implies a deep commitment and a sharing of identity and authority related or associated with that name. So I'm like, like this stuff is standing out, but it started clicking when I read number 2. Number 2 was relational bond. And remember, bond or yesod is one of the things that I'm studying. Yesod, in reference to foundation or bonding. So it says covenants are inherently relational. Covenant is about oneness. They create a promise, an agreement between parties. A name covenant signifies a deep relational commitment, acknowledging mutual respect, honor, and a shared vision or purpose. Now, what made me like really gravitate to what I just read there is because Yesod is the 6th attribute that for each week it would be number 6, with the exception of the 6th week. Then it's the entire week I'm working on this Yesod or bonding. And so to look at this, like when I'm, for instance, a couple of days ago. Yesterday was Malchut. The day before was Yesod. So a couple of days ago, I was looking at bonding in loving kindness. I didn't think of the covenant, you know, that this is a covenant. And so to see it here in relation to covenant, to see it called relational bonding, and that's one of the things that when I was working on bonding in loving kindness, the exercise for that day was to start building something constructive together with a loved one. And I thought about like what my husband and I are doing, like we're building, you know, and so I didn't put the 2 together. And so to see it here in covenant and to see how that applies, I'm like, okay, all right, Yesod. So it gives me like it awakens me to like a little more as far as understand. It helps me to understand it even more so. And then when we're talking about names, like for instance, number 3, it says prophetic insight and revelation. A name can be seen as an alignment with a divine relation or prophetic insight. It signifies not just an agreement with another party, but also an alignment with a higher, often spiritual purpose or destiny found in biblical truth. And then number 4, legacy and continuity. It says a covenant linked with a name often has a generational aspect. It is creating a legacy that outlives the individuals involved, extending its influence and blessings to future generations, aligning well with your goal of leaving a multi-generational leadership legacy. And I'm like, wow, because that's day 7. Day 7 is the Mount Shoot, or it's like I call it nobility, but it's also known as leadership servanthood. So I'm like, I'm beginning to see what I'm studying and focusing on in this 49-day count. I'm beginning to see it in other areas. So that is I wrote down on the paper here 1 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14, because God said, if my people, but it's what he said next, who are called by my name. And that's what we're talking about, name covenants. And so I began to sit and I began to realize, being called by God's name, being called a Christian or like Christ, which is what Christian mean, like Christ. To be called a Christian, we're being called by his name. And so he's saying, if his people who are called by his name, if we'll humble ourselves, that's hard. Humility, that's the focus of the hard. He said, if we'll humble ourselves, if we'll pray, seek his face. Prayer is our talking to him. Seeking his face is our listening for him to answer us. And then when he gives us the answer, if we'll turn from our wicked ways, he says, then he'll hear from heaven. He'll forgive us of our sin and he'll heal our land. So I'm looking at how all this stuff applies, and somehow or another, I ended up over at my computer, and I ended up watching one of the episodes of Dear Future Wifey, and yeah, like they started mentioning other stuff that started had me thinking again about the stuff that I'm learning as I count the Omer, and I was just like, wow, yeah. So today was not my usual day. So anyway, counting the Omer. It is an intense 49-day period of character refinement and elevation. Character. Me. I'm working on me during these 49 days, but this is something that everybody could do. So today is day 8. Day 8. It says, before I share about day 8, it says, if love, she said, is the bedrock of human expression, discipline is the channel through which we express love. It gives our life and love direction and focus. So that's what I'll be working on this entire week, will be the Gevurah, the week of the Gevurah. So it says Gevurah, which is discipline and measure, concentrates and directs our efforts, our love, in the proper direction. So today is day 8 of counting the Omer. It actually started last night at 6 p.m. last night. So we're coming in the latter part of it, getting ready to close out the day, and I'm just getting to this video. But anyway, this is what it says. It says the underlying, today is day 8 of counting the Omer, which is the Chesed, Shabi, Gevurah. So everything this week is Gevurah. Chesed is loving kindness. Shabi means of or within, within of, and then the focus, Gevurah. So it says the underlying intention and motive of discipline, which is Gevurah, discipline. The underlying intention and motive of discipline is love. And so then it says here, so why do we measure our behavior? Why do we establish standards and expect people to live up to them? Only because of love. It says, I'm going to continue with what it says because I think this will make sense. It says, Chesed of Gevurah, or love and discipline, is the recognition that your personal discipline, and discipline you expect of others is only an expression of love. It is the understanding that we have no right to judge others. We only have the right to love them, but that includes wanting them to be their best. That part reminded me of what I read in Hebrews, where it talked about discipline. It's Hebrews chapter 12. And it starts at verse 5, and this is what it says. It says, and you have forgotten the exhortation which speaks to you as sons. My son, do not despise the chastening of the love, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked. Let me read that again. And you have forgotten the exhortation which speaks to you as to sons. My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. For whom the Lord loves, he chastens and scourges every son whom he receives. If you endure chastening, God deals with you as with sons. For what son is there whom a father does not chasten? But if you are without chastening, of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Furthermore, we have had human fathers who corrected us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much more readily be in subject to the Father of spirits and live? For they indeed for a few days chasten us as seemed best to them, but he for our profit, that we may be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening seems to be joyful for the present, but painful. Nevertheless, afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So again, this is talking about discipline, but that discipline is rooted in love. Um, it says here, it says, ask yourself, when I judge and criticize another, is it in any way tinged with any of my own contempt and irritation? Is there any hidden satisfaction in the other person's failure? Or is it only out of love for the other? Before you criticize, and this is an exercise for today, before you criticize someone today, think twice. Is it out of concern and love? And like when you have somebody that's your best friend, that you call your best friend, and you see them heading on a path that will be harmful to them, and you let them know, many don't understand that when you speak out on it, it's because you care. It's because you love, that you actually love them, and that you want what's best. And that's what it said here. It is understanding that we have no right to judge others. We only have the right to love them, but that includes wanting them to be at their best. And so that's where this discipline comes in. Discipline and loving kindness. If you don't like a person, don't like, or if something just downright irritates you, and you're judging because you have contempt for it, that's not love, and that's not the Shesed Shabi Gavura. So any judgment that is done should be done out of love. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm working on. That's what today is about. Judging in love. Judging not out of contempt, not out of irritation, but out of concern and love. The same love that you have for yourself, the same concern that you have for yourself is what you have for the next person. So again, this is day 8 of counting the Omer. This entire week is a week of Gevura. It's a week of discipline. Today's focus is love and discipline. Bye for now.